Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel, Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm finally going to be discussing my least favorite and most disappointing reads of 2018. I read about 65 books, no, exactly 65 books in 2018, so there are obviously some books that I was bound not to like so much. I have about 4 books for each category. I don't plan on spending too much time on each of them, ragging on all of them. It just doesn't seem necessary. So yeah, let's get into it. Also, if you hear yelling in the background, that is my irritating brother playing on his computer. My apologies. So I'm first going to discuss my most disappointing reads of 2018. These were books that I liked, but I just had higher expectations for them and I thought they could have been better. The first book I want to discuss is actually a book I nearly forgot to put on this list, and it's Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk by Kathleen Bruni. This book follows an 85-year-old woman walking along the streets of New York on New Year's Eve, and it just follows her reflecting on her life and her past experiences. I started reading this in December of 2017, but actually ended up putting it down. It was kind of unintentional, and it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It's just the end of the year was fast approaching. I was trying to get a bunch of books read to catch up on my goals. Christmas was happening, so this book kind of fell to the wayside. December of 2018 rolls around, and I realized that I still haven't picked it up, so I decided, you know what, let's try it. I did start from the beginning again. I just didn't really care about it this time around, which was a big disappointment. I think the first half of the book is very charming and fun, and I really love the voice of Lillian. By the time the second half rolls around, the story becomes incredibly formulaic. It got incredibly boring and repetitive. It was disappointing because I really liked it when I first started reading it. The next book I found disappointing was Smoke in the Sun by Renee Ahdieh. This is the sequel and finale to the Flame in the Mist duology. I read Flame in the Mist and really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that the book was far too long and it took way too long to really get the plot moving. There was a lot of moving back and forth and little things happening. Big plot stuff doesn't really happen till like the very end of the novel, and then it gets wrapped up so quickly. Like the resolution and climax and all that stuff happens within like 30 pages. It's ridiculously fast. I think when I originally read it, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but that was definitely me being very generous. I have changed it, and the more I think about it, the lower the rating goes, to 3 to 2.5. It was very middle of the road. The next book that's on this list honestly kills me to put it on here, and it hurts. It's Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This is a companion novel to Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. It follows Leah, who is a side character in Simon. It follows her basically deciding on her future and exploring her sexuality. She's bisexual. A lot of people didn't like this book because of the romance that was featured, and that's actually not why I found this to be disappointing. I found this to be disappointing simply in the fact that I thought it had the potential to be so much more. A lot of this book was filler and unnecessary and a little bit boring. I would have loved to see this book be their last year of high school, and then also morphing into their first year of college. It would test relationships and friendships. It would allow the romance to grow in a much more natural and realistic timeline. I hate him. I did like the romance in this book, and I think that the criticism that goes on with the romance is a bit much at times, but that's just my personal opinion. It sucks that I had to put this on this list because I love Becky's books. The book I found most disappointing this year really sucks, and it sucks that I had to put this on this list because I was really looking forward to it. Might as well get it out of the way. It's Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the 3rd book in the Red Rising trilogy, a very popular sci-fi trilogy that is initially set on Mars, and it follows the society that has a caste system that ranks you basically based on the color of your eyes. I was eagerly anticipating reading the finale, and boy, did I not think it lived up to the hype. A lot of it I found to be boring. Focuses way too much on like minute detail that could have been summarized a lot quicker. I found the first half of this book to be pretty tedious to read. There was a conflict in here at the beginning that I thought was so dumb and pointless. I thought this book was going to be brutal and heartbreaking, but really it was just tedious, slow, and boring. I guess this is the part of the video where I actually have to make a disclaimer. These are my least favorite books of the year, but it is no way a reflection on you. It is just my opinion. Please, let's move on. The first book I'm briefly going to mention was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is the very famous classic story, and I just thought the writing in here was the worst. I couldn't stand it. The story itself, the ideas behind it, great. Writing was terrible. I don't know if I'll ever pick up something else by Charles Dickens. The next book on this list, I have a lot of conflicting thoughts about, and it's Like a River Glorious by Rae Carson. This is the second book in the Walk on Earth a Stranger trilogy, which is set during the California Gold Rush, and our main character actually has an affinity for discovering gold. I did somewhat enjoy my time while reading it. However, there are a lot of bad choices made in the story, which made me ultimately dislike it. I thought it was incredibly long and very, very repetitive, not only just in themes or things that were happening, but literally the writing was so repetitive. I found the romance to be incredibly predictable and really unnecessary. It follows basically every young adult trope you could ever imagine. I also read a lot of Own Voices reviews mentioning that the rep in here is not great, specifically the Native American rep. And also I have literally no idea why this is a trilogy. Everything could have been wrapped up and ended with this book. I have no idea why there is a third book here. This next book also could have been put on my most disappointing reads of the year, but I also really didn't like it, and that's Wildcard by Marie Lu. This is the sequel and finale to Warcross, a book that I had a lot of fun with back in 2017. I thought the characters really shine through and that the plot was interesting and entertaining and fun, and I was really looking forward to the finale, thinking that it would be a very great, kick-ass, epic, and entertaining finale, and it was anything but that. This book isn't that long, but it really drags in places. There's a lot of going back and forth from place to place, but nothing truly is happening. But I thought the reveals and the way the series took a turn was very disappointing and weird and just unnecessary. I also thought that the romance was beyond stupid and just not functional, and our main character just acted like a dumbass for the entirety of this novel. I did a full review for it, so I will leave that linked if you want to know my full thoughts, but man, did this one bum me out because I was really looking forward to it. Ooh, another book I really disliked this year was 3 Sides of a Heart. I can't even remember who the anthology is edited by now. This is an anthology that actually tackles love triangles. I liked the first story featured Justina Ireland's and Rae Carson's, but the rest I can't tell you a damn thing about. I've kind of blocked it out. I was incredibly disappointed in this one. I just thought they were all run-of-the-mill. I thought we were going to get an exploration into different types of love triangles. I thought there was going to be a ton more queer stuff. I thought maybe polyamory would be featured, but really didn't get it, and it just wasn't that good. Second last book on this list, so we're almost there, is Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. This is the third and final book in the Miss Peregrine's trilogy. It basically sucked from almost start to finish, to be honest. I just think that it loses all the charm that the past 2 novels have. It is incredibly bleak and dreary. I thought the pacing was weird. It was far too long. The first half was so boring, it's not even funny. And the villain was so cartoonish, it wasn't even enjoyable. I will not be starting the new trilogy set in this world. I don't care anymore. This got a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I did not enjoy this story. The final book on this list, and my absolute least favorite read of the entire year, was Manhattan Beach by Jennifer Egan. There were 2 main reasons why I think I didn't like this book at all. The first thing was that my expectations were not what was actually promised in this story, and also I think this story just tries to do too much. This is almost impossible to summarize because there are so many stupid little elements that go on in this story that are unnecessary and weird, and I just hated it. This book tries to do too much. It tries to be like a crime thing. It's historical. It follows kind of a women's rights type movement, lost family members, and some other things. I've honestly blocked out a lot of the stuff that happens in this book because I just didn't like it. It sucks too because I was enjoying, I think, the beginning of this story. I think I liked the atmosphere, but as it went on, the tone kind of shifts and it becomes much more of a stereotypical, boring historical novel. The way that this book is laid out is weird. It's mainly told from the perspective of our female character, but then random perspectives are thrown in, and it feels disjointed. It feels like multiple different stories told in the same book, and it just didn't work for me. I think initially I gave it 2 stars because I did, like I said, like the atmosphere, but I have nothing good to say about this novel anymore. Everything that's left with me are all the things that I disliked. This book is not worth reading in my opinion. Please let me know down in the comments below your most disappointing read of 2018. I'm glad to finally have filmed this so I can put it out there and kind of not think about it anymore. Hopefully my favorite reads of 2018 is coming out soon. I've been meaning to film it, but it just hasn't gotten done yet. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!